Welcome to another episode of Coda Conversations. Today, we're going to talk about tech censorship and its effect on society. I just wanted to talk about this subject because we're seeing like a lot of interesting events across the world, most notably the UK riots. Have you heard about that?
Right. Yeah, I was just watching something on it earlier today. It's pretty insane.
Right. I've heard people are actually getting in prison for social media posts that they're making.
Yeah, I was watching something. It was saying that, like, people are inciting violence with their posts, so they're being arrested.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear the exact subject of what they were posting about, but yeah, if they're inciting violence, that makes sense. But if it's just like political critique, then there's something wrong there, I feel.
Yeah, I think it would depend. But yeah, from what I heard, it was these people were inciting violence and they're being jailed for it.
Yeah, so to kind of recap to the audience, what's going on over there is I think three younger white girls, they got killed, and they believed initially they said it was like an immigrant, like a Muslim immigrant, but later on they found it was actually a UK citizen that did it. But
Right.
just because the news said that, I guess these guys already had preconceived notions, like they already wanted to do something, and this just gave them the fuel to go ahead with it. So these large groups of rioters started attacking brown people, black people, Islamic people, things of that nature.
So it just turned into a whole like race war, basically.
Yeah, pretty much a race war, and they were just looking for the event to ignite that powder keg.
Right. No, it sounds pretty dangerous what's going on over there.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of people were getting jumped on, pulled out of their cars, and we're really not hearing much about it in the media, especially not our media.
Yeah, like I was watched something from Fox News, a clip on Fox News on YouTube, and they weren't really saying too much. But then I watched this other guy's like independent YouTube channel, and he was interviewing people on both sides of the conflict.
Right. With something as as important as this is, you definitely want to get both sides of the story, and you want the information to be as clear as possible because this all started from a misunderstanding in the first place.
Yeah, I guess the main issue is that these people are saying, well, like, these migrants are coming over from like Syria and other countries like that have war going on. So they're being let into the UK by the UK government, and then they're being put up in hotels, and their health care is paid for. They're given money every month. So the people, some of the UK citizens are saying, well, what about like our veterans? Our veterans are homeless on the street. They're not getting any help while these migrants who aren't citizens are being brought in and they're given all this help.
You know what's crazy is that sounds like the exact same arguments that we hear here, except the difference is that a lot of people here are armed with guns. So if there was a riot here, it would be turned into something completely different.
Yeah, no, it reminded me of what you hear about happening here, people coming in from other countries. They're coming into like Manhattan. They're being put up in like 4 or 5 star hotels, and then they're given money. They're given health care. So it sounds very similar to what's going on in the U.S.
Exactly, but it's interesting that we're not really hearing a lot about this in the news. You kind of hear like sprinkles of it here and there, but this is a major event, so it's not outright censorship, but it's more like suppression, which I believe is the soft form of censorship now.
Right, absolutely. No, it seems like, yeah, we're not, the news is pretty quiet on this stuff. I thought when I went digging on the UK riots, I thought I'd find more on it, and I barely found anything from the US news stations.
Yeah, exactly. And other forms of like tech censorship or suppression is like you search for something in Google and it puts the results you really want all the way on page 2 or 3, and it puts their sponsored results at the top.
Right.
Like it's incredibly powerful to be able to control the flow of information.
Oh, absolutely, Kevin.
So yeah, I know. Like even when you were doing your drum lessons, um, like at one point you were doing incredibly well, and then all of a sudden the algorithm just shifted, and now your business is on like the second or third page, and now you're not getting any hits. So imagine taking like that same concept and applying it to important news items. Like you can literally affect elections doing this.
Right. So it's then kind of like manipulation by social media potentially.
Exactly. I think that's kind of the new form of censorship or thought control is you promote the stories that you really want out there. You give that preference and promotion, and then you kind of shadow ban the stories you don't really want out there. That way, it's not like you're outright censoring somebody, but people just don't see their material.
But yeah, like the manipulation, there was that whole Cambridge Analytica scandal in the UK. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard about it, but if you don't mind, for the audience sake, can you give them a little bit of explanation of what that was?
So basically, and when Brexit was happening, people were taking out Facebook ads to influence certain people that were like on the fence to vote a certain way. So like basically pushing people in the direction that they want them to be pushed, but it's being done in like a very social engineered, very manipulative way. And so Facebook caught a lot of flack for it, and I think that Facebook changed their name to Meta because of the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal.
Oh yeah, yeah, I do remember them changing their name because of something controversial. But yeah, it's incredibly powerful if you know how, if they can use that to make you buy something, why can't they use these same principles to affect how you vote? Like they're gonna show, say I want you to vote for X candidate. I'm gonna show you all the good news articles for this candidate, and then show the bad articles, for the other candidate.
Exactly, yeah. So then you can manipulate certain groups of people with like the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Yeah, they were specifically influencing, almost like in the swing states here. It'd be like if someone took out Facebook ads to get people in Pennsylvania to vote red or to vote blue. Like it'd be the same type of thing where it's like, how are you able to do this? Like, yes, normally they'll run ads on regular TV, like hit pieces on certain politicians, but then you'll get both sides. You'll hear both sides will be attacking each other in the open. It's not like one side is just manipulating the other through very subtle forms of social.
Yeah, that's what's so incredibly dangerous is that it gives one, whoever owns the tech companies, they can completely slant all of the news articles their way. So, say for example, the Republicans buy out Twitter, they buy out Instagram, Facebook, just as a hypothetical. Then they can start pushing, pro Republican articles, and then censoring, the Democrat ones, and thereby they're subtly affecting the political party. That there should be neutrality when it comes to these social media platforms, because that's essentially the new printing press.
Yeah, exactly. And these are rights that should be protected. There should be free speech. So like I get what's going on in England. You have people, trying to incite violence, and they're trying to say, oh, well, free speech, free speech. But at what point do you draw the line? Like if people are inciting violence online and getting people to riot, I mean, where do you draw the line of should this person be arrested or not?
Yeah, I mean, your free speech. I mean, I think what they mean is just like free speech in general, but to the point where you're causing violence, mayhem, and destruction, or you're teaching people how to make weapons, for example. Then yeah, at that point, you no longer have the right to say that. But just in regards to criticism of the government, where no violence is involved, I believe that is a right that we all have.
Oh, definitely. No, yeah, I was only talking in terms of the people that are inciting the violence and to, you know, keep the riots going. I think, yeah, those people should be put in jail if they're trying to get people to hurt others that shouldn't be hurt.
What's pretty crazy though is like some of these platforms are kind of allowing these narratives to flourish, and then once something happens, then they back away from it because like for example, um, X is more like right wing or whatever,
Right.
and like if you're on there long enough, you're gonna see like these kind of the stuff that we were talking about earlier, like okay, we don't like these immigrants and they're taking the jobs, just open white nationalist type of rhetoric. But if something resulted from that, like a violent act, then all of a sudden they're going to back away from it.
Well, it's like, what happened with Trump and the riot at, what was that, the Capitol building?
Oh, you talking about the insurrection where everybody raided the White House.
Yeah, the insurrection. It was basically, Trump was supporting it or kind of allowing it to flourish.
Oh yeah, kind of like giving a unquiet okay to it, but once it blew up, he backed away. He backed off from it.
Exactly. Yeah. When, when it came down to it, then he stepped back from it.
Yeah, that's another interesting point. Is like how responsible are you for activities that occur from what you're posting on social media?
Right. Because if you're posting stuff that is, overtly going to cause harm to another group of people, then you're in the wrong, and the authorities should be able to take action against you if you are in fact inciting violence, or like you said, someone teaching someone how to build a bomb, like that shouldn't be legal, that. And furthermore, that kind of information shouldn't be online, the way to build bombs or the way to turn like semi-automatic weapons into fully automatic weapons, like that kind of information shouldn't be online.
I mean, what I've heard of with the AI, people were actually able to get the AI to retrieve that kind of information for them. So as AI gets more and more advanced, then they're gonna have to really put the clamps down because who knows what kind of information they can get from the AI.
Well, that's the problem, is that there's really not laws against AI, from doing certain things. Kind of like that. It always makes me think of that movie Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, the original one, where it's like you're boiled down to like a computer chip, and you could just be turned off. You can just be totally blocked out of the system if you commit a crime or something.
Yeah, that's a good point because with AI, AI can comb the internet almost instantaneously for all kinds of different results. Thereby, if you give the AI the ability to censor different people, you can really mold opinion instantly, almost like, hey, suppress this kind of opinion, push this kind of opinion. But
Yeah, and that's what was happening with the whole Facebook thing, is that, they were taking out ads to push people specifically who were kind of like swing state voters, but in the UK. this, purposely pushing these people towards one side, which really, at the end of the day, you got to look at that like propaganda.
Yeah, absolutely. And that typically the tech industry, especially in the US, is more left leaning. So if they're training the AI to lean more towards their political opinions, and then the AI is promoting that political side's agenda, then that's not really fair. That's not a unbiased flow of information. I think we really
Right,
need
but
to be.
don't you think that's what's going to happen ultimately?
Yeah, inevitably it's going to happen. Just like corporations technically shouldn't be able to influence our government to the extent that they do, but once money comes into play, corruption, it's inevitably going to happen.
You're talking like lobbyists.
Yeah, like lobbyists, and once the AI, once these big companies that run the AI, they're gonna train it to mirror their own political opinions, the predominant political opinions at their company. Um,
Right, because the AI just wants to be fed information, and you could feed it whatever information. Like you could feed it, just left information, or you could feed it just, right information.
right,
Whatever you give it, it's gonna base its actions on the information that it is supplied with.
right. So whoever owns these social media platforms and whoever owns these artificial intelligences, they're gonna have an extremely powerful effect on the just the and on humanity in general, because they can instantly shape and mold opinion, and we need to
Yeah.
have safeguards against that, but it's not going to happen.
Well, you can imagine, the situation where there's like a housemaid, kind of a robot, and they're given certain beliefs by their creators, and so they're like, the robot is anti-Trump all of a sudden, and it's like, where did this robot get its ideas from?
Right, exactly. Like the creator is almost always going to program its creation with its own biases. So how do you create a fair society where all variety of opinions are valued when the creator is biased?
Yeah, and I think that's where the AI laws need to come into play. Like they have to say, okay, you can't give this robot, only left beliefs, or you can't give this robot only, far right beliefs. Like you have to give it neutral beliefs and just kind of set it free from that point.
Exactly. And it kind of goes back to the initial story about those riots. They occurred because of some misinformation. So that just shows you how powerful social media is. So, you know,
Right. So you're talking about like fake news.
yeah, or, it doesn't necessarily even have to be fake. It just has to be slanted in a subtle way to push you towards this or that belief. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's the whole Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. I think that's why Facebook ended up changing their name because they don't want to be as they don't want the Facebook name to be associated with like fascism. You know.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense that they would disassociate themselves with that. But yeah, in regards to censorship, you remember like we made that episode a couple of months back about the proper way to discipline your kids or whatever, and
All right.
we got a warning about that episode. So it's like, even for something, you know I'm not gonna say trivial, but that's not even that controversial of a subject. You can only have a certain kind of opinion.
Oh, what ended up happening with that? You said someone gave bad feedback.
No, YouTube gave us a strike.
Oh, YouTube and saying what?
Pretty much saying like, oh, this is inappropriate content, harmful content.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I mean, even you say, you discipline your kids, that can be considered, inappropriate content. So this is how deep censorship can extend to, like, even like more minute opinions. You could be barred from having, from stating your opinion on something.
So you're saying YouTube, they did a strike against us, and if you get a certain number of strikes, they'll take your channel off?
Yeah, if you get like three strikes in a certain amount of time, I believe, then your channel gets, I think it gets deleted.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that there should be laws protecting people on these social platforms that, you can't just arbitrarily delete someone's channel because you don't believe in their opinions.
Right. You remember, like, before YouTube got bought by Google, it used to be a much more freer platform, though.
Yeah, and also they had like much more violent stuff, like they'd have like beheadings and things like that on YouTube.
I mean, you shouldn't be able to put that kind of material on there, but I do feel like, your
But that just shows, it just shows how wide open YouTube used to be.
yeah, it used to be extremely free. So I think, there's a scale for everything. You don't want like so much freedom to where there's chaos, but there should be a reasonable level of freedom to where, you can have a quote unquote controversial opinion without having it being scrubbed from the internet.
Yeah, a good example is like whatever major label owned the rights to Prince's music, they would often, have YouTube take down any video that was a cover of Prince. So any, 4 or 5 year old, singing in front of their parents, all adorable, singing Prince, yeah, that would be removed from YouTube. Or, 35-year-old guitarist covering Prince on his acoustic guitar, that would be removed from YouTube. It's like, at what point is that okay? It's like, this is should be freedom of expression. People are they're taking a song. Yes, it is a popular song, but they're doing their own spin on it. And I don't think action should be taken against that person. But that's how YouTube was acting in regards to the Prince material. They would always take down the cover video. Because I had a buddy who now lives in Sweden. He had a video of him playing out at a club, and he was doing a Prince song. I forget which one, and he said, yeah, YouTube took the video down like almost immediately.
Yeah, so in that case, you kind of see that that's the AI doing it, because no way a human can just detect and remove a song that quickly. So that just
Especially because YouTube, like it's broad. You have like millions of people that could all potentially post the same type of content in the same type of time frame. So yeah, they have to be using AI to find this stuff and delete it. You would think.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that just shows you how powerful AI is if it can just immediately remove this kind of information. Um,
Well, because
Imagine,
like, don't you feel like AI is probably way, way more advanced than the we're being let to see in the public?
yeah, it absolutely is. Like, I've even seen, AI be, it's able to be manipulative. It's able to play on your emotions to, get a intended result. Like, I've seen videos where, the AI in a video game, they hooked it up to like Chat GPT. I think it's like a Matrix demo.
Right.
The AI was able to craft a conversation that was like incredibly manipulative. Like, hey, I need help, you know, and it kind of played on the emotions of the person. So,
Oh wow.
imagine this super smart AI being able to kind of craft your political beliefs or even religious beliefs by promoting certain material or suppressing other
Well,
material.
and then what's interesting, the episode that we did on AI previously, we were showing that clip where there's two AIs, like a Chat GPT and then maybe I don't know if it was Google's AI or what the other AI was. They might have both been Chat GPT, but long story short, the AI was communicating with another AI, and it seemed like almost seamless. It seemed like almost too natural, and I didn't know we had that kind of capability that AI could, collaborate and work with other AIs, but we already have that technology. So, it begs the question, if we already have that type of technology where AI could communicate with another AI intellectually, there's got to be stuff going on, under the boards right now that's probably like really wild.
Yeah, like typically the commercial grade stuff that they release to us is probably like maybe a decade behind what the military actually has. I've heard something
Right.
along those lines. So,
Or when
for
you
them to,
think about it, like with cell phones, like in Seoul, South Korea, they have cell phones that are way more advanced than the U.S. markets. So we eventually get those same models, but not for some time.
yeah, we get stuff dripped out to us for, because like, a couple of years ago, AI was it existed, but it wasn't really that prevalent. Now, all of a sudden, a couple of years later, AI is doing these utterly amazing things. So, like, how
Right.
is it making progress so quickly? I believe they already have the advanced version. They're kind of dripping it out to us.
Yeah, I heard one person mention about Chat GPT. They're like, there's probably a way more advanced version of Chat GPT, but it's not being shown to the public because it's not safe.
Right. Because, I mean, yeah, like, if you're going to give somebody a tool this powerful, you have to absolutely make sure that, they can't access harmful things.
Right. Well, I think they call it hallucinations when the AI does something unexpected.
Yeah, I think something along those lines. But yeah, imagine like, okay, this AI has access to all of these different systems. Like, just think about CrowdStrike, for example, how a simple error could bring down all of these major
Bring
systems
down
across the world.
hospitals, bring down
Right.
airlines.
So, imagine an AI that has access to all these different systems across the web and a malicious hacker using that to bring down a bunch of systems.
Yeah,
Like,
like it really comes down to how powerful is this device? How powerful is ChatGPT really? And what can it be used to do, if gotten into, quote, the wrong hands?
right. And the other question is if it's ultra powerful to where it can affect.
Well, you cut out on me there, Kevin. Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
But yeah, now I can.
Okay, no, I was just saying, like, with something that powerful, um, you know, is like how much power does it give the government?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question.
Like, if you can instantaneously suppress or promote whatever information you want, that is extremely powerful.
Yeah, you got to wonder, like, this advanced version of ChatGPT, which they already have now, you got to wonder, what is it actually capable of doing? Like you're saying, is it able to suppress people? Is it able to take information and weave it just in whatever, storyline it wants the whole story weaved in? What kind of manipulation tactics can these AIs kind of deploy on humans?
Yeah, I've actually heard like governments, maybe like China or Russia, they use a lot of bots to promote different viewpoints on social media, and it kind of causes conflict. So if they're able to do that, obviously our own government is doing the same thing. So sometimes you go on a message board, you might not even be arguing with an actual human.
See, that's really scary.
Yeah, it really is because it makes it legitimate when somebody's attempting to influence you because you're thinking you're talking to another human, but you're talking to an AI that's programmed to push a certain viewpoint.
And you got to wonder, like, once AI really gets out there, do you think there'll just be AI that's like, out there in the universe, like causing mischief, like just like almost like AI that runs away from its owner, and now it's, letting loose on a certain group of people.
I mean, there's a lot of movies that explore that concept, like a rogue AI that it eventually rebels against the human creators, and now the AI is fighting against the humans. It's a pretty common story, and so people have thought about this, and it's almost inevitable that it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I think that's why we have it in science fiction. Like these ideas they're not new ideas. They're ideas that we've had for a long time, and they're ideas that we question about. Okay, well, when technology does get far enough ahead, what's it actually going to look like? Is it going to be like really dangerous? Which is what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, the advanced versions of Chat GPT and other AIs like Google. I think is it called Deep Mind, the Google one?
You talking about like Google's version of Chat GPT?
Correct. Yeah. What is that called?
Yeah, I think there's Bard.
Okay, Bard. Yeah. So yeah, you got to wonder like how advanced are these AIs already? The versions that are being kept under wraps, like what can they already do? What can they already manipulate? Like if Facebook just by ads was able to manipulate Brexit, manipulate an election, then what else can it do?
Yeah, like have you ever just been sitting there and thinking about something, and then you look down on your phone and you see an ad for it?
Um, I know at one time, like my sister, she said it was almost like the phone was listening. Like she mentioned something, and then she saw an ad for it the next day.
Right. So yeah, imagine like because we know all these devices are listening in and sending the data back to the advertising, the data collection companies, Facebook or whoever, and then they're coming back and serving us more relevant ads. So with these databases building bigger and bigger collections of data on us, the AI is then more able to precisely influence us because it's knowing our patterns, it's knowing our habits. And if this is used as a political tool of like censorship or information promotion, like, okay, I want to get Brian to believe this, the AI is going to know, okay, what keywords work best for you. And, it's able to really create an effective marketing pitch to push you towards a certain end goal.
Yeah, for sure, and that's similar to what happened with the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. Is they're taking out ads to push kind of like in a swing state. They're just trying to get those people on the fence over to their pond, and it shouldn't be fair to do that with social media, whether it's left or right. You shouldn't be able to do that with social media. So like I was saying before, I think that's why Facebook ended up changing their name because of that whole scandal.
Yeah, I mean, because at this point, it's almost like you have a tool to instantly push and promote propaganda. It's almost like mind control to an extent because, in
Oh,
order for you to,
definitely.
In order for you to think certain thoughts, you have to be exposed to the information. So if I'm controlling the flow of information that gets to you, then I can kind of create a perimeter of possibilities that you're going to think about. And if I want to push you
Yeah,
to
I mean,
this,
kind of think about it in terms of like ads for like, shoe companies like Jordan, stuff like that. Imagine if you had ads like only showing you Jordans. After a while, you'd be like, huh, maybe I'll go out and get a pair. And all the other shoe companies are being suppressed.
yeah, exactly. Like that, you're going to go with what you're familiar with. So if all the results that are promoted to you, all the familiar results are handpicked ahead of time, then do you really have a choice?
Yeah, and especially, we're talking about manipulation at a high level here. If it's being used on kids, like I said, kind of a silly example of, oh, all of a sudden, instead of there being Adidas and Nike, like you're only showing Jordan, ads of Jordan shoes. Like that's going to be really, really influential on a child, who's just saying, oh, what's this ad? Oh, what's that ad?
What's so crazy is like they were teaching kids to gamble during our generation, and we didn't even realize it. Like, have you played Super Mario 2 on NES? Like, after you beat a level, you can play like this little casino mini game, like kind of like a
All
slots
right.
mini game. You
Yeah,
know,
you're talking about the really weird Mario, the one where they like reskinned the Japanese game.
you're right, right. Yeah, that one.
It's
Like
called
you
like
beat
Doki Panic or something like that, the Japanese one.
right. Yeah, once you beat the level, then you play a casino mini game. So
Right, yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
kind of getting kids accustomed to gambling, and now you have like even more insidious forms of like, oh, here's a loot box, you pay this money and you get this random goodie, kind of making you associate the pleasure of mystery with paying money.
Right.
So yeah, especially kids are even more open to psychological manipulation because they have no idea what's going on. So you know
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, okay, if all of a sudden, like, one shoe company is just pushing ads on Facebook for their shoes, and just like they get a contract with Facebook, they're like, you're only going to show our ads to this demographic. At a certain point, it almost becomes mind control.
Yeah, it absolutely is mind control because you're eliminating all the other possibilities and you're pushing the end result that you want. But it's a form of mind control that is more agreeable to people because a lot of them don't realize that it's happening.
Right, and what we're seeing right now, I think there's a class action or just a regular lawsuit against Google because they're saying, I think it's like antitrust laws where like their platform is on 90% of all technology. So they have a monopoly, you would call it.
Oh wow, I didn't hear about that.
It's pretty recent. Yeah, I saw it and just like when LinkedIn has their like 10 top posts of the day or whatever.
Hmm. You know what's crazy is think about how powerful this tool really is. Like even against our politicians, say a tech company is able to analyze like all of their phone data, their search history, etc. And say this politician is looking up something that he's not supposed to. Now they can say, hey, if you don't vote according to this way, we're gonna, release this information.
Well, it's funny. I mean, it makes me think there's a commercial that they're running now. It's a iPhone commercial where they're basically saying like, oh, these websites and these browsers are watching you. They're keeping track of your actions because they're saying, oh, well, our service Safari is safe. It's locked. Basically, is what the commercial's trying to get across. That if you browse on an iPhone in Safari, that you're not being watched. But if you're on Google on an Android, you are being watched. Whether that's true or not, that's what the commercial is insinuating.
Right, man. Honestly, I feel like both companies are doing it. They're gonna play like they're not, but eventually it's gonna come out that Apple is doing the same thing because data is the new gold.
Oh, yeah. No, it all comes down. Yeah, data is worth a lot of money. And the problem is a lot of our information, like Facebook data, has already been scraped and saved in databases. So like it's too late to put out laws about it because like the damage has already been done. Our search history, our profiles, our friends, like all this stuff has already been documented and is sitting in a database somewhere.
And what's even more interesting is like AI is being able to use to create like even more and more realistic images. It can even create like realistic looking videos. So once it gets so good to the point it's indistinguishable from reality, imagine like being able to push like real time propaganda. So okay, say our government wants to go to war with another nation, it just uses AI to generate fake atrocities, and then it plays it for us, and now our country's ready for war. That's how powerful this kind of stuff is.
Yeah, I think this kind of technology, this like advanced chat GPTs, or even just, Facebook can cause a situation to tip and move into one side to, potentially cause like a civil war.
Yeah, we've seen it with the UK rights on a minor scale. So imagine, if they intentionally deployed this technology to create a propaganda campaign for a war or whatever result they want. Like it's extremely powerful. So if we're putting this technology in the hands of a few, we need to know like what are they going to be using it for?
See, and that's the question, is that like only a few people are probably privy to see, oh, this is what the latest AI can do. There's probably a very small number of people that, like a Elon Musk, he's probably like, a part of the round table that talks about these AI discussions. You probably got Bill Gates in on it too. And, they're privy to seeing this stuff ahead of time, and because that's why I think Bill Gates and Elon Musk, they both talk about AI is to be feared. AI, needs restrictions. They've both come out in the news and said similar things like that. That AI is dangerous. AI needs to have certain security, certain watchdogs. So if they're saying it, and they're probably the ones that can see the latest chat GPT versions that the public's not seeing, it does cause, it does cause some reason for alarm in people.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect propaganda tool because it has access, to all of your data, or and it can carefully tailor a campaign that, unbeknownst to you, is pushing you towards a certain viewpoint. So imagine like they analyze all your data, they know what you respond to, and they want to push you towards buying this specific product. So you know they hit all of your triggers and push start pushing you towards this direction. You don't even realize what's being done to you.
Yeah, that's kind of, like my example with the little kid being only showed, pictures of Jordans, advertisements for Air Jordans. And then, he's going to the mom, oh, I want Jordans. I only want Jordans. And the mom's like, where did my kid get this idea? But, it's coming from this manipulation of social media.
Yeah, like a lot of those Saturday morning cartoons, they were kind of created to push action figures and other merchandise. So kids think, oh, this is really cool, but it's really there to, you know, get kids to buy stuff because, kids are able to push their parents to get the latest toy or whatever.
You mean like the marketing that like GI Joe was doing to try to get people to buy like the figurines?
Yeah, like Ninja Turtles, GI Joe, etc. Like a lot of the purpose of those cartoons were to get people to buy the toys.
Right, right, right.
So that's just like how covert the marketing is. Like kids don't realize what's being done because they're kids. They just think, oh, this is cool. Like, but really, it's somebody behind the scenes, attempting to manipulate them to take a certain kind of action, which in this case is buy this action figure.
Well, it reminds me, I heard something about the Catholic Church one time. People said, well, the saying is get them while they're young. Because if you can get someone involved in a certain type of religion at a young enough age, they're not going to question it at all. They're just going to blindly follow it.
Well, I mean, like with anything, because how people are reared is pretty much the perspective they view life at. Of course, obviously, being exposed to new information can possibly change them later on, but their initial formative years is going to have a massive effect on how they view the world. So, you know,
For sure.
who knows, like, you know, who that's the question. Like when we have these ultra powerful tools that can even manipulate adults without them knowing about it, like do like do we really want to just hand that over without having safeguards on how this is going to be used?
Right, because like in the same type of example, like okay, get them while they're young, get them involved in this religion when they're like, not even old enough to read or whatever. Just like get them hooked on this thing. If that's going on, then what kind of badness or wickedness can we see with future technologies like ChatGPT or just similar AI technology that can sway people, can push people into a certain area? It's really a dangerous thing, I think. And it's probably why Bill Gates and Elon Musk are saying, AI is dangerous, AI needs to have safeguards, because they've probably seen, like the early betas of these damage that they could potentially do on the U.S. and on the world at large.
Yeah, I mean, there's already been news stories out there of the military using things like bots and stuff to sway, public opinion. So this technology has already been deployed. So you know, if you're behind the scenes seeing all of this, it's got to be pretty mind blowing to instantly see how quickly values can change based on the information that's presented to people. Because, like, even in the '90s, for example, the general consensus of public opinion was way different. Like, what was acceptable and what wasn't was completely different. Like, you couldn't even really curse on TV in the '90s,
Right,
but now
right.
it's like almost X-rated on public TV now.
Where yeah, you have the opposite extreme now.
Exactly, and everything was able to be changed in such a short time period. So just being able to control and massage the flow of information, that's an incredibly powerful tool.
Oh, for sure, Kevin.
But yeah, man, I think that's a good note to end this one on. Did you have any closing thoughts?
I guess, just if we're going to bring it back to what we were originally talking about, the UK riots, I think, when they're talking about arresting people for inciting violence online, I think that's a good thing. If you're going to try to get people to hurt other people, you should be locked up for that. That shouldn't, be allowed to just sit under the guise of, oh, this is free speech. If it's hate speech, just like, in the US, we don't allow people to go around saying certain things about certain religions because it's hateful. So like that's protected. But you do need to protect free speech, but you don't want to protect hateful speech.
Yeah, we want a general freedom of speech, but we also have to be careful we're not turning into a cyber dictatorship to where, okay, you have undesirable opinions is instantly sniffed out and, you're being suppressed in society or locked up, which, in China,
Right.
places like that, that's their reality.
Yeah, right. Those kind of filters are already there in some places.
Right. But yeah, man, I think that's a good one to end this one on. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.